What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How's everybody doing out there on this Thursday, November 16th of 2023 for episode number 99? David, we're one away from 100. How did we
We
do
should just
this?
stop now. We should never get to 100, or we should skip 100 completely,
Take 2 weeks off and quit?
basically.
The Brett Favre. If no one knows that, go watch it. Brett Favre mic'd up. It's amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, no, episode 99, and you're still here. I think you've
Yeah.
only missed like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, and I actually just saw a meme of a guy hitting a child with a car while looking at his phone and a picture of a cat. So, and that's what I just saw.
Productive. I like it. I like it. You know, some kids just got to learn. Anyway, if you like what you hear today, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5-star, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. We'll be there. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. We're not on Threads because Threads isn't real. But I just want to talk about last week's show before we jump into this one. We had a really good, really cool educational show with somebody who we wanted to have on for a while, Tiffany Justice, the co-founder of Moms for Liberty. It was a great show. If you have any kids in school, it is well worth listening to and looking to see what Moms for Liberty does. Don't believe the hype. If you hear anything about Moms for Liberty and this and that, don't believe it. Listen to the show. Listen to Tiffany in her own words, because you probably don't know what's going on in your kid's school and you need to. And so definitely go back, give that show a listen. This week, we were going to have a guest, but that has fallen through. You know, these types of things happen. So we'll bounce back and hopefully that guest will come on eventually. But it's me and Dave. We got things to talk about. That's why we do the show, because we are fun. So no guest this week. And we're going to start off, Dave, we're going to start off with the hard-hitting stuff. We're going to get serious right away.
We're going to talk about Chris Pratt playing Garfield.
No. I did see a meme where they replaced all the Marvels chicks with Chris Pratt's face. And I think it was Babylon Bee. They just said like they recast everybody as Chris Pratt.
I mean, every animated character is now going to be voice acted by Chris Pratt. So,
I mean, if you take Chris Pratt as like his acting arc, though, he was like the chubby, goofy boyfriend in Parks and Rec. So he kind of fits. He was Garfield for a show. Quite literally, like laid on a couch, was like the useless boyfriend in Parks and Rec. So Garfield actually, before he got buff, was actually his like peak at some point, was going to be Garfield. So he's kind of just like completing the character arc now.
There you go. That makes sense.
So if anyone hasn't watched Parks and Rec, go watch it. It's actually pretty damn funny. I'm not going to lie. Leslie Knope is amazing. But we do have a topic. So right now, if anybody that's paying attention to, I guess, conservative X, or like right-leaning X, there is a spat going on between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. And I have to say, they are two people that I kind of don't care about in the whole entire space.
No.
Daily Wire outside of Clavin is kind of like the, you know, Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh are okay at times. But for the most part, I think they're more like the neocon side of things, even though I will say they do great things for culture. The movies they make, Jeremy Boring is just a badass. He's like, oh, somebody's fucking up doing something super woke. Boom, Jeremy's this. So I do say that. He does Jeremy Razors, Jeremy's Chocolate. So they do good things. For the most part, their commentary I'm not a big fan of, though, including Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. But this is all surrounding around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's going on right now. And for those that don't know, Ben Shapiro is very Jewish. And he doesn't hide that he's very Jewish. He has family in Israel, so this has been very close to him. And Candace Owens just kind of loves to talk shit. That's my best way to put Candace Owens, Dave. Is that really kind of, she puts herself in the middle of most things. And that's just kind of her arc that she's had. She's had some good moments when she's in Congress, friggin', you know, talking about her experience and things like that. Like she has some really good times. But for the most part, if you want to talk about somebody who's kind of like a grifter, Candace Owens is kind of your quintessential, started off as a leftist and now all of a sudden strong conservative. And now all of a sudden she's super religious, which she never was. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I mean, I never met Candace Owens, so I don't know much about her, but just from the optics, kind of somebody I don't really trust inside this space. And Ben Shapiro has been, you know, one of the conservative leaders for a long time, absolute super genius from a young age, very much neocon-y. And that's why I've never been a big fan. But their spat is that Ben Shapiro has been an absolute fucking psycho on X and a lot about things about going on with Israel. And he's very much just make Gaza ocean. He just wants to destroy Gaza for what happened in Israel. And in one way, you can't blame him with the emotion. But in another way, Dave, we talked a little before this. I do blame him because you're supposed to be a conservative, and conservatives don't act on emotions and go crazy. So I feel bad for his position, Dave, but I just want to go about that real quick. How do you feel about the way Ben's been acting with all this shit going on?
Yeah, like you said, it's understandable, but I'd rather see him reel it in, because if you're going to be a leader in any way, you could have some actual firebrand moment. You could have these kind of statements where you're pushing for something aggressively, but you don't want to seem like you're just completely out of hand. Not even out of hand. I'm not entirely sure which way to put it right now. I'm having a little bit of
unhinged.
blank.
I know it's thrown around all the time, but like he's kind of unhinged with this one. Like it's not very rational with a lot of the things that he's been kind of expressing with it.
Yeah, I just it's a bit overactive on it.
Yeah.
He's not just, you can make a very simple statement about this, and you could kind of hammer it a little bit, but I don't necessarily think it needs to be the way he's doing it. Now, like you said, completely understandable. You have family in Israel.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand being emotional, but if you are going to be a leader, you need to be a leader.
And you talk to millions of people a day. And Ben Shapiro has strong influence. And if you're now taking a whole part of the right, a whole part of the right, and turning him into a war machine, warmonger, neocon thing, it's like, does Ben Shapiro not also understand what another part of his base is, right? Because Candace Owens is kind of speaking to that part when she was talking to Tucker Carlson, where she was kind of saying, which a lot of us agree with, we understand what's going on in Israel, but at the same time, we have a ton of issues in America that we could really be using our resources towards here, with the border, with drugs, with all this stuff. And a lot of people connected with that. Now, Ben Shapiro fired back saying, and she said some dumb shit too about Gaza and Israel.
Yeah, she is actually not very educated in the know about what even happened recently. She's not even that very in the know about that.
And Ben Shapiro took a problem with it. She put up a Bible verse, and then Ben was like, hey, if this is so bad on you at the Daily Wire, you don't want to take our money, just quit. And then that's kind of like, everyone's like,
that's another thing. And that's another thing. Why is this public? What is the point of this being public?
Is it performative? Is it a Daily Wire? Someone to get attention.
Someone did bring up this is basically a work, like a wrestling work.
If Candace doesn't quit, then I'm convinced it's a work.
I don't know. I don't see it as a work. I don't see Ben as that type of person. He's like the typical robotic nerd stereotype. So I can't see him pulling a work.
Candace leaves and teams up with Crowder.
No way she would do that.
But
she was the one. She was the one in the lead,
which is crazy, right? Because this is now like a year, less than a year ago now.
Yes,
this all went down, and Candace was like the tip of the spear, fighting for the Daily Caller, Jeremy Boring, and Ben Shapiro.
Daily Wire, not
Daily Wire, same thing. Daily Caller, they whatever. But the Daily Wire fighting for them, and so it's pretty crazy to see this turn. Now we're talking about this,
which I do want to bring up real quick. Say whatever you want about Steven Crowder. He broke the Trans Manifesto thing. And then Jeremy Boring went out and basically attacked him for it, where it's just like, look, you could have those feelings and maybe they're warranted, but why would you do that on Twitter? What are you doing?
And it was brought up by another commentator. I heard that where Crowder was right about everything going on there, because if he would have broken this and he would have gotten taken off of Twitter like he did in a bunch of places, he would have then lost money for breaking the biggest story of the year so far.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in that Alex Jones clip where he's like, "Where are the men?" Because I just don't see a point in going to what is your online shit talking diary, and doing this consistently when you don't need to make things public. So that's why people believe everything is a work. When I don't. Most of the time, I think things aren't a work. They might be in the end, like people might switch up in the middle of things. But a lot of people are just over emotional nowadays. They don't know how to do a work. They really don't. Most people aren't up on wrestling.
And, and the thing is, it's like, and, I listen to Timcast, I make that no bones. And Tim Pool constantly says he doesn't know why. For whatever reason, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict makes people go from 0 to 11. And more than anything else, all of a sudden you bring this up and boom, a side is picked and people feel like they have to do it. And, in the end, David, you know my stance. I've said my stance openly. Someone was attacked by somebody else. The person attacked deserves to defend themselves, period. I've stood that way with Ukraine, and I'm the same way with Israel. Israel should go in, do what they got to do, and I'm getting more to the stance of everyone's calling for a ceasefire. Ceasefire is simple. Hamas gives up, surrenders themselves, and gives back hostages. Until that happens, Israel does not have to stop a thing.
Yeah.
Period. And, and I don't want to hear about innocent women and children. I don't, because it's war. It's war. It's a war that a government that they selected, that they haven't overthrown since 2006, and a government that has not worked for them, that has not given them anything. Everyone hears about Israel's open air prison and they're keeping them in there. They allowed them to form a government, and this government has not negotiated shit for them, for anyone else, any other nation. So I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear any experts talking about what happened. Fuck all of you. Okay. Period. That is what is going on. And I don't want to hear anything else. So we're getting to all this because we really want to talk about, Dave, the fact that right now in the human condition, mostly in the West, right, in the Western nations, we have, and like you said, where are the men? We have gotten so soft as people, as Western people, because we're looking at this. And, I say this to people every once in a while. I think it blows their mind. People don't realize, especially in the West, we're living in the most peaceful time to ever be alive right now.
Yes.
It might not seem like it.
And the most comfortable.
And the most comfortable by a long shot.
Yeah.
And we might not feel like it, right? Because we're hearing constantly about wars and we're always hearing about the fighting in politics. But relatively, imagine going back and living during World War II, World War I, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, any of this shit. Any of these times in history, even being a colonial settler, having to deal with Native Americans and warring tribes, wanting to fuck you up every moment because you're there, and
just a trip to the colonies, not even worrying about tribes. No, the trip to the colonies where you're probably going to die on the way there.
The Pilgrims in the Mayflower, where half of them didn't make it, then half of them died after settling. We are such pussies in this generation right now that the human condition is so comfortable. And I've said this before, Dave. People talk about, oh, America's so fat, right? It's because we can be. Again, our food is probably shit. I don't doubt that. But it's also because we can be. We don't worry about anything. And that's what has made us soft, because we go for nothing. We go without anything. Like, we wake up, we eat food, we turn on lights, we have running water, and then we go out and we complain about the shit we don't have. It's just crazy that we have divulged into this. So, Dave, what about, you were talking a little bit earlier about like the human condition before we got on here and things like that. So, like, what are you saying? Why do we suck?
So I don't even. So for me, it's not even that necessarily we suck. I think soft is a pretty apt description, maybe more complacent and comfortable. But there is a good reason for the amount of empathy we have for a lot of things that we see as valuable, and we don't want to let go. Like, we don't want to give in to some of the savagery that is human nature, to some of the violence that we're just predicated to as humans.
Yeah.
But we'd also have to understand what human nature is, and that sometimes the amount of empathy that you show, or the type of things that you try to do to quell what is just normally going to happen, and some of the things that people are just going to do, will only make it worse. And I feel like we've gotten to a point where we're so comfortable, where we want these values to be able to work, where sometimes they just simply do not work in the long run. You can feel good about yourself saying, like, oh, people shouldn't die. Thing bad. Like, you could feel good about yourself saying that. But the matter of fact is that reality is going to happen, and people are going to act in both rational and irrational ways, no matter how you think of the way that they're thinking about it. Because yes, some people are evil, some people are good. That is an abject reality that's true. Some people are just downright evil, some people are just downright good. But a lot of times people are acting on certain motivations, certain incentives, and certain things that make complete logical sense to them. And you're going to have to realize that might be something that cannot be pushed or moved by just speaking and having empathy or trying to show them what you think the right amount of empathy or consistency that should be in their logic. It's just simply not going to be moved in them, and it's simply not going to be moved in you. And I feel like we see it a lot with the way people interact with each other, especially in social media. And, it's always brought up like, we used to be able to disagree politically, but we could still be friends, which seemed more accurate back in the day. I would say, 15 years ago? I don't even want to say 10 years ago, because now every time I think 10 years ago, I still think like 2002. I don't know why. but like, yeah, I know, which is not true at all. But like, 15 years ago or whatever, people could disagree and still be friends. But one of the biggest things to me is that we've come to a point where we think of human nature where it's just like, we play this whole game on social media where if you block someone, you lost an argument. It's like, oh, you're so weak for blocking someone.
Yeah.
When it's a simple part of human nature is if you don't like someone, there's usually two ways to deal with it. You either get violent or you ignore them. And that's part of ignoring them. And that's fine. That's a good thing. That's what you just do because you get things out of your life that are not good for survival. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And we play around with this stuff and we try to think that we can overcome a lot of it when we can't. You can overcome some of it. There's a reason why we're so civilized and the reason why we're able to do a lot of things we do without so much violence going on. But a lot of that violence, I mean, technically, it really hasn't stopped in a lot of world. We're just very ignorant of a lot of things happening. But a lot of that violence in general was actually pretty much a big thing until very recently.
Yeah.
So it is a natural thing not only to be violent, but to not have a certain amount of empathy for people because in the general sense, they're most likely not going to have it for you. And it's almost illogical for you to have it for them because you're doing too much to be what you think is a good person. I know it was a little rambling a little bit.
No, that's fine. But, and and I think another thing people need to understand, it's still pretty much a very relatively recent concept of leaders actually caring about their people. Most of the time, we were just there as their whims. We were their property in a way where they defended us just because another leader wanted to encroach on us. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because they actually care. Now, there's arguments to whether or not this government actually gives a shit about people too.
Yes.
But in our Constitution, the way it's designed, we do have powers. We're supposed to be a government run by the people. And we fall into this concept of innocence, right? That is such a newish concept in the world that we're used to hearing in the West and specifically the United States and places like that, like Canada and things like that. But around the world, they still don't give a shit. There is no such thing as innocent people.
Yep.
I rule. They do what I say, period. They are just there to provide for me. That is kind of where a lot of places still are in the world. You look at China. You think Xi Jinping gives a shit about his people? You really think that Putin actually cares that much about the Russian people? Now, don't get me wrong. They care in a sense of national pride, right? If the Russian people do better, Vladimir Putin looks better. If the Chinese people and the economy and stuff does better, Xi Jinping looks better. So they care to an extent. They want their people to succeed because it makes them look better. But in terms of sending people off to war, we see it in Russia. They're using conscripts left and right. You have to go fight if you're told to, period.
Yep. Yeah.
Because they are not things. They're not people to Vladimir Putin. They're things to be used for his progress. Now, us in the West, we give a shit about innocent people because we care about life. That's the way we were raised. That's part of our founding is to care about life. Now, have we always been great about it? I don't want to get into that because that doesn't fucking matter, to be quite honest. Every nation has had its hiccups. We are the closest it has come to getting to that point, right? It's never been this way. So people get caught up on this concept of, well, when innocent people die. Listen, people, I get it. We want to be as good as we can. But even as strong as America is, we cannot prevent innocent people from dying. It's not possible. And we can't prevent us from every once in a while killing innocent people if we are in an active war. That's just part of it. So I think people need to get off of this whole entire innocent people, innocent women and children dying, because that's war. War occurs, innocents are killed. It's usually not the militaries that take the blows anymore. We don't stand in lines and shoot at each other anymore. It's guerrilla tactics. It's clearing towns. It's, moving and moving. If, it's a very different time where people need to understand what war is now. People don't have a concept of war anymore.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify that it's not it's not necessarily bad to think these things and be and actually care. It's actually it's very admirable.
You're a decent person
in a way, yes. Oh. But you just have to understand what reality is going to look like. And sometimes if you are going to prolong something because you think you might be doing the admirable thing, it actually just lengthens the amount of actual suffering or actual negative impact that whatever is happening. Like you don't want a war that could maybe be 5 years end up being 20 years. You don't want that. Think about how many more people are going to be hurt because of that. So, and you don't, and it doesn't even have to be to that scale. You don't. It's the same thing where it's just like quote unquote soft on crime, but really just want crime. If you don't arrest the person that does a bad deed because you think, oh, it was some kind of socioeconomic factor or whatever, then that could lengthen the suffering of other people in that community because that person goes on to do more bad deeds.
Yep.
You can't just have this empathy that prolongs every single negative thing because you don't think you have the right or some people have the right to stop the negative thing from happening. And
it's hilarious because we've seen empathy in action in an extreme way. That reporter that got stabbed not too long ago, and the girlfriend asking a guy that stabbed him, "Are you okay? I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And that guy died.
Or the woman that got mugged and the guy shot the guy mugging her. And
recently.
Yes. And she was not happy that he used a gun on the mugger.
And it was in the city.
Yeah,
why did people have guns here?
Yeah, she wished he didn't use a gun. And that's the issue is, look, you just got your life saved, possibly your life saved. So what are you complaining about?
No concept on that, because there's no real danger in our society. There is, obviously, but we are so blind to it that we think it can never happen. So you were talking about crimes. I want to move into something a little more soft here, because I think we kind of got our points across with how we feel. Someone that has been technically committing a crime for a long time, Snoop Dogg, openly smokes weed consistently, or has. We could say in the past tense, another time, because Snoop Dogg made the announcement that he is going to stop smoking again. And I say again because it feels like everybody has forgotten. Snoop Dogg did this once, guys. This is now probably over almost a decade ago. He stopped smoking and became Snoop Lion. How are people not calling him out? Like, I get it. Listen, Snoop, stop smoking. That's good for you. I'm happy that you're going to stop smoking. You're almost you got to be almost 60. Whatever. Like,
I think he's over 60.
He's not young, but it's not a bad thing to stop burning. Like, smoking weed. I know people are like, oh, smoking weed's not bad. Smoking weed's terrible for you. Putting anything in you that is not like food or a natural, or air.
I know. He's 52. I'm wrong.
Oh, wow. Well, he looks older because he's been smoking so much. But breathing in anything that isn't air is pretty bad for you. So it's like, I hate people are like, smoking's not bad for you. But so Snoop Dogg is stopping again. And I will say, Dave, do you care?
Well, I do, because it's like, all the weed heads are losing a legend. but
I saw in a bunch of comments are like, we'll roll an extra one for you.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll follow your lead, big homie.
But truly, I think people need to remember Snoop Lion. They need to remember what Snoop Dogg did in the past, because no one talks about it. Everyone acts like it just wasn't a thing. And it was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life when it happened. And it still is one of the weirdest things.
And it's funny because he became Snoop Lion when he stopped smoking. And then the moment he announced he's going to smoke again, he came back to being Snoop Dogg. So it's like...
Wasn't he making reggae music? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had a fucking reggae hat and everything as Snoop Lion. He made a reggae album. as Snoop Lion.
Oh, it's such an alternate reality memory. Like that's the type of shit where it's like CERN activated their big ass fucking thing and actually sent us to a mirror dimension where Snoop Lion was.
But he's that type of dude that could do it. But the thing about Snoop Dogg is no one's going to say a fucking word to him.
No.
Because he's a real one. Because Snoop will not hesitate to backhand you.
He's
like,
also
he is still that guy.
He's also an absolute icon.
And he's so cool. He just seems like a type of dude that is just like chill. Like if you're being cool with him, he's going to be cool with you. He just seems like that type of guy.
He's one of the only people that can resemble a small dog and still have charisma.
And become good friends with Martha Stewart as a rap icon. Like, because he flat out was like, she got street cred. Didn't they make a cooking show together?
Yes. Like, she's the one with a felony. He's not.
Exactly. What hasn't Snoop done, to be quite honest? What hasn't he done? Like that's yeah.
Now he's going to stop smoking apparently.
Again, and he'll go back. And it's not like, again, people look up Snoop Lion. If you have not looked up, if you don't know what Snoop Lion is, go look him up. He wears a fucking little reggae hat and he did reggae music, and it really was not very good. And then he came back to rapping, and he kind of like reggae rapped for a little, and then he went back to real rap, made a few songs. But Snoop could do what he wants. Good for Snoop. I'm happy you're stopping smoking. Smoking's not good for you. Kids, don't smoke. But yeah, everyone remember Snoop Lion. Don't dead name Snoop Lion, okay? Snoop Lion was a thing, damn it. But yeah, no. In the end, though, so does this matter culturally? Because a lot of people smoke, Dave. It's bigger now than it ever has been.
No,
somebody like him that's like,
I don't think the Dogfather stopping smoking at this point in history matters too much. Because
what if he starts to speak out and like denigrate it? What if he starts to become like active against it?
He has no reason to.
He doesn't. But
even if he does, I don't think it would matter very much. I'm not going to lie to you.
He doesn't have the pull anymore like he used to?
No, it's not the same amount of pull. Not at all. I mean, he has pull over older generations, but definitely not younger generations.
Man, I just want like, we should do like a mashup album where like they have one like new person trying to rap as good as they can, and then they bring on some of these old heads just like doing a regular verse, not even trying, and just call it like a clash of generations, just so like these newer like kids could be like, our shit sucks. Because like it's not very good.
There's some good stuff out there.
Yeah, but
there's some good stuff out there.
The biggest albums that come back are always old people making a new album. When you're Kendrick, when you're Ye, when you're,
well, the issue is that nowadays albums themselves don't matter. It's singles.
It is singles.
It's all about singles, and sometimes it's just, what's the big song on TikTok?
Which is annoying, even though, I don't know. I think Wayne dropped his new mixtape, which is exciting. Because he was supposed to drop one. I think it's like a Story of Carter. Something like that. Drake
is dropping tonight.
Or another new ceilings. I think it's another new. It might be another new ceilings. No ceilings. So if it's another no ceilings, then I'll be excited because the no ceiling set is the best thing Lil Wayne's ever done. Period. I will fight everyone to that. No ceilings is the best. Maybe the Carter 3. That's about it.
Ooh, you're really going to say that with dedication being a thing. Okay, we don't have to go into
dedication has maybe some better songs. Overall, the No Ceilings projects have been the best.
Let's keep pushing. We're not doing this.
So, Snoop Dogg, congrats. I want to go on to somebody else that deserves no congrats. Charissa Thompson, what the fuck are you thinking? So, for those that don't know, sideline reporter Charissa Thompson, who's been, pretty well known. I don't even know what podcast she was on. I actually don't care. But on a podcast, she admitted to making up sideline reports if she was not able to catch up with any of the coaches or players. Now, if you're not a fan of sports, you're probably like, who cares, right? But for her whole workforce, which is now coming down on her, I haven't seen a single sideline reporter side with her. We've had Michelle Tafoya on the show. She has been destroying her on X, deservedly so. But Dave, this is a problem. And I feel like you want to talk about cultural stuff. This is something cultural where people feel like they don't have to be honest and it's okay. They don't have to do things on the up and up, and that's okay to not be on the up and up. It's excusable. So Number one, she's an idiot for admitting it. Because you know what? Even if sideline reporters did this all the time, you don't admit this. It's kind of just like an unwritten rule that the coaches, the players, and you guys all understand, like, hey, if I can't get you, I'm just going to say generic thing. Word. But now you're putting everyone in a position that even if this is a thing that is done, to now go at you. And if it is a thing that is done, I can't wait for more sideline reporters and coaches to defend Charissa Thompson, which no one has yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So what's your take on her being an idiot?
Yeah, it's just silly. It's just a silly move. Maybe she was too comfortable in the podcast and she felt like she could say that and could admit that. But it's just weird why you would say that. Like even if every single sideline reporter did it all the time, why would you admit it? What would be the point of that? Because it makes you look useless in your profession. It looks like that job is starting to become less and less useful, which I don't really think they're useless. I actually don't mind the sideline reporters. I'm fine when they come in and give some information, especially injury information. It's useful. But if they don't even know the injury information, they're just guessing, well, why would I want them there? What's the point? You could just hear from the coaches at any other time then. You could hear from the commentators in the booth. They'll get some info somehow. So I don't know why you would say that. I'm not surprised that every single sideline reporter is coming out and saying that this is not something anyone else does. So Charissa Thompson might not have a job like almost effective immediately, which is understandable because you're making that whole entire sector of reporting look awful when you admit that.
So now can we trust what the sideline reporters say? Because is it going to
everyone but Charissa Thompson?
Everyone but if she has a job. And, Charissa, at this point, stop and just go make a podcast. That's your best bet.
Yeah, really.
It's out there right now. You're the biggest thing. You're one of the biggest stories in sports right now. Just go start a podcast right now and just call it Charissa Thompson Blabbermouth. And then people would probably listen to see what other shit you're going to spew. And there you can make up whatever you want.
That is true.
You can make things up. So I think Charissa, I just saved your career by giving you a new one where you just don't have to care and say what you want anyway. And then we could listen, Charissa, lean into this actually. Make it a spoof. Have guests on and then just don't let them speak and speak for them and just make up things that they're going to say. Or just make up quotes they said and see if they catch you.
She could just make the podcast rounds like the crazy plane lady has been doing, Tiffany Gomez.
Going on Alex Stein.
Going on everyone. She went on Barstool podcast. She went everywhere.
Now, is that her?
Going everywhere. Yes, it is her.
Are you sure it's her?
Yes, I'm sure it's her.
I love the myth that's not really her, that's an actress and a body double and the real person's not even around. The government stole her. Did you see the second woman that went crazy on a plane yesterday?
Yeah, that seems like a copycat.
That one seemed much more performative. Now, she was saying, like, I'm being human trafficked.
Yeah.
And, like, weird. But at the same time, what if she was? Like, here's the thing. At the same time, what if she was, like, actively being human trafficked and we're just sitting there going, haha, stupid copycat. Like, what if she's not lying?
Well, then that is just very unfortunate because it doesn't, I don't know, just seemed like a copycat. Maybe it's because Tiffany Gomez is going around right now, but it seemed like a copycat.
And it 100% does. But Tiffany Gomez was like, that person's like a lizard person. Like, it wasn't like.
Well, she didn't say that.
No, but that's what she was getting at. Come on, we all know. But, but she's specifically being like, they're trying to human traffic me. Like,
yeah.
This is like, but then she went into like, that's not real. Like, I don't know. White bitches need to stop tripping on shit before they get on planes. That's the bottom line. Stop ODing before you get on planes.
You could have a whole entire podcast on what is going on with awfuls, which if you don't know that anagram, then you should learn it.
If you can't go on a plane without getting high, then don't do it. Period. Just don't fly. Drive everywhere. Drive, take cruises, do the old fashioned way. Because if you need to get high to the point where you start freaking out, because listen, sometimes you're stuck on planes for a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's stuffy. Mm-hmm. Some people smell like shit. Mm-hmm. Kids will cry. And if you're high out of your mind, there's two different types of people, a few different types, right? There's people that are just chill. There's
Mhm.
people that, get annoyed. And then there's people that freak the fuck out. And anyone that's ever done any drugs, ever gotten high or anything like that, everyone's had their freak out moments. It's happened. If it happens to you on a plane, that's really unfortunate, especially now in social media. Now, there's got to be a study, Dave. How often has this happened on planes? Like now everyone takes out their phones, right? And films everything. Pre-filming culture, was this a thing where people were freaking out on planes? Like we didn't report on plane removals before last year. Yeah. Nobody gave a shit until COVID, when people were getting kicked out for not wearing masks. So I think someone needs to deep dive into whether or not this has been a thing where specifically white women have gone crazy on planes.
Specifically, white women have gone crazy everywhere.
I mean, yes. Yes. We apologize to any sane white women listening. You will go crazy eventually.
No, you will understand completely what we're saying.
Because you're like, I've been fighting back that tendency my whole life. Sorry, we are broad brushing, but it is fine. But yeah, no, that was weird. That was weird seeing the second one.
Mm-hmm.
So and someone needs to investigate that.
I do want to bring up before we close out. There is another album, I believe, dropping tonight or dropping very soon. Andre 3000 is coming out with a solo album.
It's all like instrumental.
It's all flutes.
Yeah.
He's playing the flute.
Still want to listen to it.
I will give it a chance. I don't know if I'll love it, but if 3 Stacks is doing it, I got to give it a chance because this is incredible to see him drop a solo album. And it's honestly, it goes with 3 Stacks. He's the weird one of the group. And it makes sense that he would do this.
Now, here's the thing. What if he's not rapping on it, but Big Boy jumps on and starts rapping?
No, I heard it's no lyrics, no singing, no nothing.
And I stand corrected. It's not No Ceilings. It actually came out September 29th with Lil Wayne. It's the fix before the 6.
Oh,
so Carter 6 is coming out, which is dope.
Yes.
So sorry, it's not No Ceilings. It's the fix before the 6. It's 10 tracks. It came out on the 29th. So I haven't listened to it. I gotta go listen because Lil Wayne. The best thing Lil Wayne does is his mixtapes. They're incredible. So they're all really good. So I want to go out. Our last topic that we're going to talk about before we jump out of here is Commie Cisco. So the future Democratic presidential candidate in a few months, Gavin Newsom, rolled out the red carpet in San Francisco for the Chinese dictator Xi Jinping, and obviously our feckless corpse of a leader, Joe Biden, was there. But that's not the reason why people care. The reason why people care is because for those that don't know what's been going on in San Francisco. Now, San Francisco, I've never been, but for all intents and purposes, I've heard is one of the most beautiful cities on the planet until Gavin Newsom got a hold of it and was mayor. And it's now rampant with crime and shit and homeless people. There's poop everywhere, homeless people everywhere, crime all the time. That is what has been known for years. Until recently. With Xi Jinping coming to town, Gavin Newsom decided to get rid of the homeless, get rid of the poop, get rid of the crime, and restore it to its former beauty to show off for Xi Jinping. Now, some people might be thinking, great, fix the problem, right? Here is the problem. People have been bringing attention to this for years. There was a poop tracker. A San Francisco poop tracker, still is. But there was a poop tracker and there's a tracker for calls a day going into poop. I think they gave up on it because there was so many a day. And this is something people have been clamoring for in San Francisco, which is one of the wokest leftist places ever, where people were starting to complain like, hey, I can't walk out of my house without a homeless person trying to accost me. Like there's poop everywhere. It smells awful. Please do something, city of San Francisco. And they're doing nothing. So now Xi Jinping comes and all of a sudden it gets cleaned up. Now, this isn't just conspiracy. I know people were thinking like, oh, maybe they planned on doing this. Gavin Newsom flat out said not once, but twice in press conferences that they cleaned it up for Xi Jinping specifically. Mm-hmm. And he said, because he wants him to see the beauty. And if someone's coming to your house, you're not just going to leave it messy. You got to clean it up. Which all it says is they've had the ability, they've known how to, and they just refuse to clean up the city. And not to mention, Dave, communist flags, communist China flags all over the city. What do you make of this? This is ridiculous.
Gavin Bateman. I'm gonna take a page out of the late great Dennis Green.
Yes.
And say he is who we thought he was. He always has been who we thought he was. And I mean, look, the cojones on the guy to just come out and say, well, no shit, I cleaned it up.
I almost respect him. I respect him.
Like the guy, like, you want to look at someone who's leading like a fucking sultan, like like someone who's actually in charge of something. Well, there you go. And it's not in a good way. But I mean, he obviously has the charisma that people like. And Gavin Bateman is going to garner a lot of people to vote for him when he actually runs for president, because I firmly believe this now. There's no reason you see Xi Jinping this many times. There's no reason you see all these people.
And he's debating DeSantis the end of this month.
Exactly. So I think he is a genuine threat, even with this. Because, look, we can talk till we're blue in the face and be as goddamn correct as we want and how ridiculous and over the top this is and how much this is like USSR, not USSR, Stalin Russia cleaning up for the New York Times in order for them to come in and say, oh, well, actually, it's not that bad over there. They're well fed. They're doing well. It's exactly the same fucking way, except they're the ones pandering to China. So we could say as much as we want about that. That doesn't matter. He is a good looking man. He is an American Psycho type of character, and he actually does very well for a lot of people on the other side of this issue. So what the way I see this is we're looking at a guy who is going to be growing and growing and growing in popularity, that is going to be running for president. And I know a lot of people are loving the way the polls are looking right now, but that's the polls against Biden. We need to be fully prepared for when Gavin Bateman is actually ready to announce he's running for president, and he is going to blow the fuck up. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I am there because I want Gavin to run, because I want to hear him say something about how he had Kimberly Guilfoyle first to John. I am there for that. And you know he'll say something. Mm-hmm. He will absolutely like say something snarky about how like he knows a lot about Kim. And like he'll say something in that manner. And the thing with that is they've been looking for an answer to Donald Trump, right? For so long. Gavin Newsom has no shame.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom
not at all.
That answer, because he will sit there and roll and he will throw back. If you want to look for someone that has a charisma to throw back at Donald, he will throw back, and he has that evil smile.
He is the genuine threat that people need to look at and people need to prepare for. Like I said, Wright's already throwing a fucking party. The polls are doing well, as they should be. This presidency is awful. People can't afford things. No shit that Trump's going to be on top. Anyone who is running the primary is going to do very well against Joe Biden.
Yeah, DeSantis and Haley are doing good against Biden in all the battleground states and polls. Yeah.
But the thing is that it doesn't matter, because I wholeheartedly believe Biden is not going to be the Democratic nominee, because there is for me, the way Newsom is going, the man that should have been recalled, the man that flamboyantly fucking went against all of his restrictions in California, let anything happen that he wanted to, and then restricted on everyone else, did not get recalled. And did not get any accountability for his actions. That man is going to be able to run roughshod in the left, especially with Trump being the primary guy.
And the thing is, Trump's not going to use any of what you just said against him. Mm-hmm. Because Trump, I don't know if he knows.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if he knows. I don't know if he paid enough attention. Yeah. And the thing is, too, Trump has said nice things about Gavin Newsom recently, too. That they worked very closely, and Gavin Newsom will use that against Donald Trump.
Exactly. And the thing is that this is not even me saying like, oh, Trump can't be the primary guy, because it doesn't matter who the primary person is against Gavin Newsom. This is me saying that the whole camp of the right needs to be fully prepared and fully ready to go against Gavin Newsom, because Ron DeSantis, if that debate happens, Ron DeSantis is too much of a damn breadstick. If he doesn't come at this, we've said this before, if he doesn't come at this as if he's going against left-wing media that's trying to catch him on something, he's not going to do well. He needs to come in that mode in order to beat Gavin Newsom. Otherwise, he's going to get stomped. He's going to get even worse in the goddamn polls in the Republican primary. Nikki Haley would do terribly. Everyone would do not well.
If it's Newsom, I want Vivek. Vivek is the only one that
might be Newsom. Genuinely might be the only
one.
But and that's the thing. is that this needs to be a genuine concentrated effort by the right, and it's not going to happen. So we better hope that it's Joe Biden. If it's Gavin Newsom, we have a genuine difficulty here. Joe Biden, we do not have much difficulty. Gavin Newsom, we have difficulty.
Here's where RFK becomes the X factor, though. If it's Gavin Newsom, RFK is going to pull more from Gavin than he will from Trump, because they are so much more aligned on a lot of policies when it comes to climate, when it comes to a lot of the things that RFK, I don't believe RFK on the border one fucking bit. I think he's lying 100% about the border. I think he's lying about coming over to 2A with some of the things. But I think that that's where RFK could be valuable, because I feel like people will look at Newsom as a much more traditional Democrat. Yep. And that's the way they look at RFK, as a traditional Democrat. So you're going to have a lot of traditional Democrats kind of, because the Kennedy name and a lot of the things that he stands for, and a lot of the things that JFK and RFK did, they were very much similar in the way, because you got to remember, the anti-vax community was on the left up until COVID. Yeah. That was mostly the left that was anti-vax. It wasn't a lot of your people on the right. So he's harking back to a lot of your older leftists. And and the thing is, whenever leftists go into the general primary, Dave, they start talking more tougher on the border.
No, yeah. They have to go towards the center.
They start talking tougher. They start talking better about 2A. They start talking tougher about crimes. The same exact things that RFK is doing, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have a very similar thing. Outside, the only thing that they're going to really disagree on is the vaccine, because obviously Gavin Newsom was for it. Mm-hmm. RFK has been totally against vaccines for a long time, period. Mm-hmm. And, possibly a lot of like the freedom of speech stuff, which Gavin Newsom has a terrible record on. RFK has zero record on. That's the difference. RFK could say all he wants. He's never ran anything. So I think that that's the only silver lining in this, is that if Newsom runs, you're then going to be having a very similar independent running against him. And it's going to be pulling the Democrats more there and less of the people on the right. Where with Joe Biden, most of the Democrats are just kind of like biting their tongue with him, because he's already there and the incumbent gets to vote a lot more time. So that's where the only, I think, silver lining is. And Trump's kind of not even a factor when it comes to RFK Newsom in that sense. He'll just eat up a lot of things there, and it would actually benefit him in a way.
Yeah, I hope you're right on that one. And I hope I'm wrong on Newsom running. I really do. I hope I'm wrong on Newsom running. I just don't think you make the moves he's making if you're not going to randomly jump in at the last minute. I just don't think you do that, unless he's planning for some kind of bid in 4 years. But why would you do that necessarily when you have a shambling corpse in the office? Someone who needs to be helped. Someone who needs to be ousted so that the Democrat Party can get someone in power. Because I just don't see how Joe Biden wins, no matter what, when you have the country running the way it's run.
So here's a real question. I just thought of this. So Vivek has been hurting in the polls lately, right? Mm-hmm. He's been doing some good spots. Mm-hmm. What if he convinces Tulsi to be his running mate? How would that do for him?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think he's going to be able to move up much. I'm not going to lie to you, even with doing that. I don't want Tulsi. I don't trust Tulsi. I trust Tulsi as much as I trust like Megyn Kelly and shit. But he has his moments, and he has but he just doesn't have any real reputation behind him. In order for him to have any pull. And I mean, right now we're seeing a lot of Nikki Haley stuff, which she's insane. She's actually probably the worst one in a Republican primary.
She's a psychopath. Well, Chris Christie's the worst. Chris Christie is by far the worst.
Yeah, it's her and him. But yeah, no, I don't see much helping Vivek. Honestly, I just kind of want Vivek to take out Haley. Honestly, don't even talk about DeSantis. Just take out Haley, because if it's certain people I want as a nominee, even though it's a long shot right now with the way Trump's leading, it's either like Trump, DeSantis, and Vivek. Like those are the only. Well, Doug Burgum.
Burgum, he's still in, baby.
He's actually good, like with his policies. And
he has some good things. Yeah,
he genuinely is. It's just he's not known. I wouldn't mind that guy. But
Vivek's going to start the next debate calling out Nikki with her real name, the Nimrata, whatever it is, and be like, "You want to be so open? Why don't you go by your real name?"
Because he should. Look, like if he takes her out, he helps the Republican Party immensely. Like, and the people who want shit actually done and not internet censorship, he helps them immensely. Like, honestly, I know he wants to win. It's a long shot. It's so out of there. There's no reason for that. Take out Nikki Haley.
He's going for 2028. He's going for 2028 right now. And because the thing is, I think he knows what he's doing right now is he's setting himself up as, regardless of what happens, when Trump is done, Vivek is the young leader. Mm-hmm. He's the person that people are going to follow in the youth movement and be the next group in. Mm-hmm. And he's going to either be in Congress or a governor in these next 4 years. That's where he's going to be. He can take over. He's an Ohio guy. He can become the governor of Ohio. And that would be big for him. That would be big because then he would get executive experience. Yeah. And then the next time he runs, he'll run again in 2028. He'll have that as long as he does a good job, which I think he'll do a pretty good job. Either way,
get rid of Nikki Haley.
Yes.
Absolutely get rid of Nikki Haley and all the motherfuckers that back her to this point. Get rid of her. Make them look like they've wasted their money. If you could do that, you get monumental praise from me. Because I mean, look, Trump and DeSantis are both good candidates to me.
Yeah,
they're both fine candidates to me. I would like either of them to be president.
I think DeSantis would be a good president.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think either one would be a good president. Nikki Haley needs to stay as far away from power as possible. As far away from power as possible.
Here's the thing, though. Where's the attacks from everybody else? Where's the attacks from everyone else that should be attacking her for saying this shit that are like influential? Like, where are some of the governors? Where is Reynolds? Where is where are all these influential governors? Where's Abbott? Where's Kemp saying like, hey, listen, this bitch does not represent us.
Yeah.
Like, she is out of her mind. She is not concerned with like, we would never do some of the things she's saying because that's what, honestly, to get her out, the establishment needs to understand there is no backing from within their party. And right now they're not getting that because if enough actual politicians come out and flat out say like, hey, Nikki's out of her mind, we wouldn't support her even if she was a candidate. That would be different. But since they're not hearing that right now and she's doing well in the polls, they're not going to stop. She's going to be there till the end. Nikki will be there until
I would love it. I would love it if Vivek just decided.
He already started.
Yeah, I know, but I'd love it if he just went full attack on her, not really care much about anyone else. You can get your jabs in. It's what you want to do, but just go full attack on her because she is one of the ones I want the least out of like anyone.
So you want to hear something funny? So I was listening to Glenn yesterday, and he had both Vivek and DeSantis on back to back. And he asked them both about the Nikki's thing. Both of them flat out said the same thing.
Yeah.
Our founding fathers wrote the Federalist Papers on anonymity. Yeah. You want to take this away. Yeah. That is and they both said this is a Chinese dictator style. Yeah. And it's kind of funny because I know neither of them are listening to each other. They're not those type of people. Yeah. For them to both say similar things. And that's the thing too with Vivek and DeSantis, they are much closer than they are further away.
And I would say I want DeSantis to attack her, but things have not gone well for him lately. So I don't want him to flounder it. And it's not me having no confidence in DeSantis. It's just the trends of how things are going. I ride the hot hand here. Vivek has the hot hand from the last debate where he argued with her. He could keep doing it. DeSantis needs to worry about his own shit because right now he doesn't have the hot hand in the kind of attack mode.
At the same time, DeSantis needs to do it to show he could be a leader.
That's true, but still, like,
if DeSantis can't do this in a primary, how's he going to win a debate? How's he going to be a world leader? So
I can understand that completely. Yeah,
there is both sides to it, but the side to the show is done, Dave. That was a terrible end. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was bad.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I don't know.
You on drugs? You on pot fucker?
Nah. So, Dave, who do you want to see fight next in Jets Twitter?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's been too many fights on Jets Twitter lately, honestly. People are so bored. You get no touchdowns in 11 quarters. You start fighting on Twitter, which is understandable.
Give me Sabo and Connor Hughes. Let's do it. Sabo and Hughes.
No. And NYJ Mavericks is Connor Hughes. It's got to be. It's got to be.
It does and it doesn't. They do. They do their little spats. That would be. They would be like, let's go. Like they like the friendly like one with the wrist backwards. Like I want Sabo and Hughes, and Sabo would be like, my analytics are better, my reporting's better, and let's just go to war. Like
or just Hughes and Rosenblatt.
Hughes and Rosenblatt. That could be a good one.
Real journalist fight.
That could be a good one, and then just have Hughes like turn his hat to a Giants whenever he doesn't want to fight. Like, can't fight me, not Jets Twitter anymore. I'm Giants Twitter. So no, that's for those that don't know, Jets Twitter has been on fire and it's been amazing. Anyway, so
And that's no hate on Hughes, Blatt, or anyone.
No. You guys are awesome. We enjoy and we just want you guys to fight. We should honestly, if anybody should set this up, we should actually do like boxing matches between personalities and set it up like as a MetLife. Do it as a tailgate.
The Bills can have their tables. We have fucking fight night.
and that'll be a rite of passage. If you want to enter in and be an influential Jets Twitter somebody, you have to fight. You have to fight at MetLife in a tailgate. I think
wild.
We got something here, Dave. We'll see if Paul Edison's karate is worth something. Let's go. Let's go. All right, Edison. I said Edison. Paul Edison. Yeah. Sorry, Paul. Anyway, that's our show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Dave, do you have anything else to say? Next week is show 100.
Yeah. Maybe we should do something special or do nothing special at all. I don't know.
Probably not. We're probably just going to have an awesome guest because that's the best thing we can do.
That is true.
Us talking usually isn't good.
Yes. I agree with that completely, actually.
So, well, somebody, I think we'll make it fun. But overall, we appreciate everyone for listening. If you like what you heard, as always, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Again, we'll be back next week, episode 100, and we'll have a fun guest. We'll do our thing. We'll have a good time. We probably won't make any pop and circumstance out of it. We'll mention it. We'll say hoorah, and that'll be the end of it. But we're not Marines, so we'll probably say hooray. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening. So long.